All right, well, hello and welcome everyone. We're very excited to be here with you tonight to talk about our PhD in nursing program. I will start us off by introducing myself. My name is Grace Giras, and I am the Assistant Director of Communications and Alumni Engagement here at the School of Nursing. I'm also joined by my colleague, Tanner Gillette. Tanner, do you want to give us a wave? We're very excited to be here tonight. So before we get started with our conversation, just a few Zoom housekeeping items. Please take this opportunity to mute yourself if you haven't already. We're asking everyone to please stay muted unless you're speaking, just to avoid any audio issues. We also, like Tanner said, know that a lot of people want to hear about the program, receive these updates, but can't join us live. So please note that we're recording it and we'll be sharing this recording with you all tomorrow. In terms of our agenda for tonight, we're going to begin with some introductions and some words from our Assistant Dean for the PhD program. Then we're going to ask our panelists a few questions and open it up for discussion if anyone have any questions of their own. If you have any questions as we go along before we get to that point, just feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll make sure to get to them. And if we run out of time for whatever reason, we'll be sure to follow up with you as well. All right, I'm just going to now briefly introduce our moderator and our panelists. So please welcome, Rebecca Lorenz, our Assistant Dean for the PhD program and today's moderator. I see you're giving us a wave, but just so everyone knows where you are. Thank you for being here. Next, we're joined by our panelist, Katie Ledwin. Katie is a current PhD student and is both a Stephanie Muka Scholar and a recipient of the Senator Patricia K. Mcgee Nursing Faculty Scholarship. Katie, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Ledwin. I am a distance student. So for those of you thinking about the distance program, I am located in Rochester, New York, so not too far from Buffalo, but still a distance student. And I am currently a nurse practitioner. So I'm a postmaster's to PhD student. And I am so excited. My research area is actually in heart failure patients in community health settings. So I work as a community health nurse practitioner. I also work as a nursing faculty member, and that's a little bit about my background. So I am a second-year PhD student, going into my last couple semesters of classes, and hopefully by next spring we'll be, not this coming spring, the following one, we'll be going into my my qualifying exams and my dissertation portion of the degree.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie. That's perfect. We're also joined by one more panelist, Leanne Falzerzak. And I'm so sorry if I butchered your last name, Leanne. You're going to have to clear that up for us. But Leanne is also a current PhD student and a presidential scholar. So Leanne, do you want to unmute yourself and give a little introduction?
Yes, hi, I am Leanne, and you said it very well. Leanne Falzerzak, now Rossler, actually got married this semester. I am also second-year PhD student in the post-bachelor's to PhD track with Katie. And my research does a lot with mindfulness and mindfulness-based stress reduction. I graduated from UB with my bachelor's in nursing in 2019 and took a gap year before joining the program again.
Great, thank you, Leanne. Before we jump into our questions, we're just going to take a moment to hear from our Assistant Dean of the PhD program. So Dr. Lorenz, do you want to provide a quick update?
Sure, I would love to. So I don't know how many people are aware, but the PhD program at the UB started in 2004, so we're fairly young. And we actually have been enjoying some growth, slight growth over the last couple of years. We currently have 38 students progressing in the program, and of those, over 12 have published their works in peer-reviewed journals. 3 students have external funding to support their dissertation through grants. 8 students are fully funded research assistants, and I'm really proud of this. I just learned that we have the second highest completion rate among PhD programs in the University at Buffalo. So you can see we're really proud of our students and our program, and I think we're doing really well. So I always want to give ourselves a round of applause. So our students, as you've met here, we have the fully funded students include our presidential and Mcgee scholars. This funds them to allow them to go full-time through the program, and decrease their time to degree. And we also last year were awarded funds from the Health Resources and Services Administration, also called HRSA, through the Nurse Faculty Loan Program. And this program provides tuition coverage for PhD students, and it really aims to increase nursing faculty. And the reason for this is we really have a crisis right now of a shortage of nurse faculty. So this loan is unique in the fact that students take out the loan to pay for their tuition, then they take a fully funded full-time faculty position, and after 4 years, their loan is forgiven by 85%. I actually met with the director of HRSA 2 weeks ago maybe, and because we're getting ready to submit again for another round of funding, and they have actually gone to Congress and asked for 100% loan forgiveness. So, I mean, this is just really wonderful. The other thing I've heard from students is they're getting a lot of information that they really need to consider doing a postdoctoral fellowship after completing their PhD. And HRSA typically requires students within 1 year. During COVID, they've extended that to 2 years, but they have to take a faculty position within 1 to 2 years. And so I asked about that since I had the opportunity. Can our students that take nurse faculty loan funds, can they still do a postdoc? And the answer was yes, we want them to do postdocs. What they have to do is just sign a waiver and let us know they're still in school, and we will defer their payment back until their postdoc is completed. So I think these are two really, really excellent things that we can offer our students so that they can move quickly through the program, and we'll have more nurse faculty. And we're working right now to submit another application. So this is every year we have to submit for these funds. So we'll be submitting an application in January so we can continue to provide funds for 22-23. So the other thing we've been doing in our PhD program is we knew that the AACN was going to publish a new pathway for the research doctorate. And so in anticipation of this, we started a curriculum review in the fall. And we've been gathering data from past graduates, current students, our faculty, about recommendations that they might have for our program. We're looking at the draft pathway right now, and we're going to secure an expert to help guide us. And what we really want to do is ensure that our curriculum is up to date, because we have a rapidly evolving healthcare system, right? Our world is changing so much. We need to focus maybe more on determinants of health equity, and social justice, as well as looking at precision science and how do we give the best care to the patients. So we're just undertaking that now. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know what our curriculum looks like in the end. And I think that's all I have. I'll welcome any questions later on.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Lorenz. You can actually take it away now with the questions you had for our panel.
All right. So I'm just going to throw the questions out, and Katie, you and Leanne just grab one, and then we can give time to the second person to also talk about it. But the question I wanted to ask first is why you chose UB. That should be a simple question. So either one. Katie, you want to take it away?
I'll take it. It was actually easy for me because I did my undergrad at UB, and when I was finally making the decision to actually apply to programs, I applied to a few, and then it was really the staff and the relationships with professors that I had from my undergrad at UB. There's just so many really great mentors, and I didn't want to miss out. And I wanted to keep those relationships. So going to UB ended up being the best option for me.
Thank you.
And my journey was a little bit different with UB. I originally was in a post-bachelor's to DNP program, and I decided I just wanted to graduate with my nurse practitioner and work for a little bit before, because I thought maybe in the future I might want to do research or faculty positions, and I really was thinking maybe I might want to do the PhD route as opposed to the DNP route. And so I was practicing for a couple of years and looking at local programs. So I'm based in Rochester, and I was really looking at things within a distance to Rochester because I have a family here. I have 3 kids. And so for me, really, I had 2 schools that I applied to, the University of Rochester and UB. And what really excited me about UB was the distance learning, first of all, and it was a large state university with lots of opportunity for funding and a really, really rich research base. And so that to me was the most exciting part about going to UB. So between the 2 programs, I really liked the idea of also being a little bit outside of my comfort zone and my hometown of here in Rochester. And I kind of wanted to experience a little bit different perspective. I've always gone to small private universities along the way. So for me, going to a large state school was a big change, and it was a little bit scary, but it was exciting. And I really liked that opportunity. And I thought that that would be a good fit for me to kind of diversify what I've done previously into what I wanted to do in my future career. So that's why I ended up at UB, and I'm very happy and excited about it.
Thank you. Great answers. So Leanne, you mentioned you got married. And Katie, you mentioned you have children. So I wondered if you could just talk briefly about how you balance your time between work, research, because I know you're both have been at least part of the time working as research assistants, and then also your personal life. So you've got lots to balance.
Well, I know for me, I don't have kids, so I can't speak on that. Kudos to anyone who does. I have a dog who is plenty enough for me. But yeah, so as a full-time student and a research assistant, it's I think 3 to 4 classes per semester typically. And then for me, it's about 20 hours per week doing a research assistantship, which also can be distance. So don't let distance think you can still do your research and participate on different groups from a distance as well. And then I do work per diem at a hospital still on a med-surg floor, which is only a few shifts per month. But for me, balancing it is a lot of time management. And in the beginning of each semester, really writing out my goals and putting everything that's due into my planner. But I don't feel like I've had to sacrifice family time or hobbies or anything. And I think it's this type of format and this mutual understanding between students, colleagues, and professors who are all, on the same page, all getting through COVID together. It's just a very understanding group. So I haven't really had any major challenges with it.
And I'll champion on what Leanne said there. I think time management is like the #1 thing, with any graduate level program. There's going to be a lot of time you have to put into the coursework, and certainly in the PhD program, I think I found myself thinking more than I thought that I was going to think. I have to have thinking time, which was a surprise to me, but I'm glad because I think I've grown personally very much for all that thinking. But so I am a full-time, but I'm taking no more than 3 courses this semester. So 3 is kind of my cap of where I can self-manage with all my other responsibilities. And of course, having children, the responsibilities of family, and I go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. So there's no like staying up late for me, but I certainly, like Leanne, set out my goals for this semester, what I want to accomplish. A lot has to do with intrinsic drive. I'm very motivated to get through my program quickly, and I want to get a good body of research and learn as much as possible from all the mentors that I have. So, I've spent some time. I chose to do some coursework over the summer, which is not required, but I wanted to do that just to have a little bit more time and space to think and be able to focus on some research during that time. So That's another big piece of it too, is that, it's a mainly 2-semester fall, spring. However, you can choose to do some of these other credits throughout the summer. It's gets a little hairy with some financial aid and other things, but that's a great time if you don't take a course to also then focus on your research and really dive into some of that work during those months off. Same thing, and Dr. Lorenz can talk to, one of my big projects was to get a paper published, and I think we submitted it on December 30th or 31st. It was like right before the end of the new year, but basically the coursework ended for the semester, and then I just, took all my time and energy and focused it into the research portion and my own personal interests and goals that I was trying to accomplish. So it's really balancing that. Unfortunately for me, I've had to drop some of my personal time space things that I like to do, but I still was able to run a half marathon this fall, which was a goal of mine. So I was able to do that. And it's really just your kind of own life balance. It's back, if you remember, like your undergraduate days of balancing, there is, when you have a family, you don't get that free space, right? I think I was telling them before we all jumped on the call, every moment I'm trying to make productive while I'm awake to make sure I get all the things in. But then you also have to remember it's only, the semester and the coursework piece is 15 weeks and you're getting all you can. And then you can breathe a little bit over the holidays and spend some quality time with your family. And having a supportive family environment too is very helpful to make it through and to be, feel emotionally supported through that process.
Thank you. And Katie, you should tell the end of that story that we did, or you did most of the work, and you got that paper submitted and it was quickly pretty much accepted. You had a few revisions, not much, and it was in print by what, February, March, something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think the final accept was in March, and then I think it was by June it was digital, and then September it was in print. So
better memory than me, but yes, it seemed pretty quick.
It was quick. It felt like a long time. The whole process of publishing takes a long time, but yes, making use of all and resources, right? I couldn't have done it without Dr. Lorenz helping me along the way. So of course, there's always having those pieces of the faculty supporting you along the way to help motivate you into some of these things you want to accomplish. And sometimes you need that little push to get there.
So you've already talked about it a little bit, but wanted to know if you wanted to touch a little bit on your own research and research projects that you're working on with faculty, or maybe you have something you're doing on your own. I know that during COVID, I'm not sure, I know at least Leanne was on a group, I think, that actually seized the opportunity and did some extra research. Weren't you part of that PhD student group?
I've been working on the grant with Pcori. Are you referring to that group?
No, I was thinking there was some students last year that interviewed, I think it's families living, had relatives in nursing homes and things like that. So you might not have been part of that group. But so we did have quite a group that just kind of seized the day and started doing interviews. And I know they're working on getting those publications out. So I think that'll really help with bridging the gap with the care of our older adults in nursing homes and what happened during COVID-19. So I think it's a valuable contribution to the literature. So talk about your research on the mindfulness project. Yeah,
so I am a research assistant on a grant. So my assistantship is paid by the grant funding it's with the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, or Pcori, and we have developed an intervention to deliver mindfulness-based stress reduction over Zoom, and we also actually created an app to deliver MBSR. So we're comparing the app and the Zoom group, and it also really seized the opportunity during COVID because the target population is those who were affected by COVID and with increased worry related to COVID. So the idea was that people aren't able to go to the usual groups and counseling sessions that they normally would have in person. So we wanted to create this MBSR mindfulness space online. So we created an app from the ground up. That was totally new to me. Never done that. Worked with engineers, architecture students, design and art students, and that was really cool to be part of. And then I also am an interventionist, so I teach and deliver the mindfulness, which has helped me myself get through these semesters as well. So I'm part of that. And then doing my own research, working on some literature reviews and submitting manuscripts or abstracts to different conferences is what I do. So I kind of differentiate my time into a bubble for classes, a bubble for my research assistantship, and a bubble for my personal projects. And that's kind of how I just try to organize things to keep it all together. So yeah, making posters to present at Research Day. I've been able to do that for ENRS and the Society of Behavioral Medicine, as well as the School of Nursing Research Day. So that's something that you'll work with your advisors to do to really, motivate yourself to go in a research direction. I personally don't really have my dissertation direction yet. I'm working on that. That is in the works. But that's not something you don't need to go into the program knowing right away, like what you want to research or what your dissertation will be.
Yeah, and I think Leanne said it very nicely. You have all your different buckets that you kind of separate everything out into. So, and a similar path, I was a research assistant for my first full year. And so I worked on some projects with another faculty member, which was a great experience because it was somewhat related to my area of interest, but it wasn't exactly my area of interest. So I got to learn a lot about something new and about very large government research grant projects, which I knew nothing about. So I got to be involved in all the pieces and aspects of that, which has been really wonderful. And so part of the work I did over the summer was continuing that research, just as I did it as credit load, just to continue with that research project. And even this semester, I've continued on some of that research that hopefully we're going to be able to put out a paper before the end of the year with another PhD student with that. So that was kind of, I've continued to work on that project research-wise, even though it doesn't really bear any load on my graduating or anything like that, but it's certainly something I've been involved with, and it's been very exciting to be a part of. And it just gives me more experience and more tools that I can use going into my own research that I didn't have previously. So it's been nice to continue on that project. I've been working with Dr. Huner's projects, I think Dr. Lorenz said. And so I'm continuing at that, and hopefully we'll continue with that a little bit while longer as well. And then, of course, I continue with my own research focus, which has mainly been in community health and heart failure and cardiology patients. And I kind of am breaking away a little bit, and Dr. Lorenz doesn't even know this, but I have this, because my brain just keeps like, once you get immersed in the research, you start seeing everywhere. I don't know if Leanne's experienced the same thing, but I was like, wow, that'd be really interesting to study, right? And you can almost get overwhelmed. You don't want to get too far off, but there's another area. When I entered the program, I had kind of two focus areas that I really enjoyed. And just recently, I've kind of found this gap, this new phenomenon that's happening. So I'm going to explore it a little bit to see what might be out there in that area, just because I'm just really interested in it. And so that's going to be my over Christmas break project to do some, it's regarding nursing students in the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm kind of excited about that because it's been a very overwhelming and different experience. And of course, it's a new thing that's never occurred before. So again, as a nurse scientist, nurse researcher, as that's a PhD program, it's just really exciting to look at all the opportunities. And that's what I feel like in the PhD program is the time to explore those opportunities and the time to learn as much as you can about all the different things that are out there to really figure out, career pathwise where you're going to go. And that's where the opportunity, like there's just so many large projects happening, and so much, like Leanne said, you can work with multiple different departments, which we are also doing on our big project with Dr. Huner. And there's multiple different perspectives and research focuses, and you can really just learn how all the pieces interplay to come up with some really great outcomes at the end. So that's where my research is. It's right now, it's focused, and I do have an idea for my dissertation, but I don't know if my over the Christmas project, comes out with something good. Maybe I'm going to have to change my dissertation plan. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. I think you both have kind of touched on, I had thought about asking you about your work with different faculty members. But I kind of feel like you both have touched on that. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the faculty and how the faculty are helping you develop into future faculty members yourself or nurse scientists?
Yeah, for me, I think the mentorship is a really big part of my success for getting through the program. I really rely on having mentors around me. And so you get matched or you connect with who you would consider your main advisor in the program, who helps you determine what classes to take, probably somebody you'll end up doing research with. But really, through your experiences and the different projects you do, you find different mentors in different areas. So I actually, for me, I've been connecting a lot with the community, different departments outside of nursing as well, and also people from other universities and other programs. As you go to conferences and participate in different things, you meet all these really great people, and then it's like becomes almost a small world, because you'd be like, oh yeah, my advisor is this person, and they're like, oh, I totally remember a presentation that they did, and it all comes together. So part of it's networking, part of it's mentorship, and part of it's just having really great people in the program that you can reach out to about school or about research or just about life and what's going on in general. So
Yeah, and I think part of the faculty, working with the faculty, right, is there's a lot of things that the faculty members probably could have done really quickly on their own, but they're allowing us to do it, right, and explore it and figure it out and work through that problem. And that's part of growing as a professional researcher is, you know, you just got to go through the steps of writing the IRB, and you might mess it up the first time, but that's okay. They'll give you hints and tips and tricks along the way, but they're whole role is to help guide us and grow us as an individual, so that when we graduate, we know how to do all these things and we can be successful as a PhD prepared nurse. So that's been really exciting. But in addition to that, one of my favorite things is working with my student colleagues as well. I have learned so much alone from all the other people in the program that I would have never even imagined I could learn. I mean, these are some of the brightest and smartest, best nurses I think I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm like, really, they are so brilliant. And the different ideas and thoughts that have sparked me to think in a different direction, or collaborate on projects with people that I never thought I would, you know, we would never have crossed paths in regular life, but being in PhD world and doing research together, we're crossing paths and we're coming up with some really cool and unique things that may have never happened if we weren't together in this PhD program. So that's been one of my favorite things, is just working with some of my student colleagues on different projects and getting through classes and really learning about the differences amongst our nurses in our profession, and all the great things that we bring to the table.
Thank you. I have just one more question, and that is if you wanted just to talk about some of your long-term goals. After, what do you want to do when you complete the PhD program? And you may not know, and that's okay too. But if you have any thoughts about that.
for me, it's very general. I always say I definitely want responsibility in teaching and doing research, which is like, well, that's what you're doing. But yes, I haven't considered specifically, but a postdoc program like Dr. Lorenz mentioned. My big goal really would to have teaching responsibility, and that's something that is important to me for myself. So.
And my path is a little bit different. So being that I've been a nurse for 10 years, I've been a nurse practitioner for 3. I was a teacher before I was a nurse too. So for me, I knew I wanted to go into education at the start. I love research, and I'm kind of a research geek, and I'm a statistics geek too. So teaching and research were kind of, I'm so glad I switched into PhD, because this is like the right fit. It feels like home, like it feels like where I should be. And so for me, I definitely long-term want to continue teaching. I am currently teaching. I want to continue teaching, but I also want to continue to add to the body of science. I mean, and that's really what we're doing here. I want to add to that research. Which one becomes my major focus, I'm not sure. I'm kind of in a crossroads here before, trying to finish up my PhD program. And so once I get to the end of the PhD program, I think that'll be a great place for me to figure out where I'm going to go. Am I going to switch over and maybe do a postdoc and then go back into teaching, or am I going to stay in teaching and not complete a postdoc? So I still have a couple of years to figure that out, but certainly there's opportunities, right? There's opportunities on both sides. So for me, the biggest challenge with a postdoc, and I think I've shared this with Dr. Lorenz, is that I am settled with children in school in Rochester. And so certainly if you match to a postdoc program, it could be anywhere, and there could be challenges with that. And so locally, there's really only one place that I could go here in Rochester. So that would be a challenge and what I have to think through in my future career plans. But either way, there's opportunities in both. And I think people would work. I think Dr. Lorenz did kind of a half distance postdoc program on her journey. So there's opportunities if you can create them. And I think there is a lot of place where you can kind of almost forge your own way if you really have like this great idea and these, great mentors around you and people who want you on their team. There's always a way to figure out how to make it happen.
Right. And I'm hearing more and more about distance postdocs. So I think that is kind of the movement for the future. Yeah, and you guys are so much further ahead than me. I just have to share. I was doing my oral exam. So when I went through my PhD program, we had to do written exams. Once we passed the written, we had to do an oral exam. And so there were, I don't remember, 5, it seemed like everybody on the program, but there was like 5 or 6 people around a table asking me really hard questions about my dissertation plan. And one of the questions was, what do you want to do? What's your long-term goal? And all of a sudden I realized I had no idea, and I just started crying. I think from all the stress of, the pressure of the whole moment. And then it just kind of realized that I don't know, I just wanted to get a PhD. So see, you guys are so much further ahead than me. So that's why you're doing great things. So I did notice in the chat that we had a question. So Bridget, you ask, for people who do distant learning, are they able to take a faculty position outside of Buffalo to fulfill the obligations? And Bridget, are you referring to if you take the nurse faculty and loan money, could you take a job outside of Buffalo? I think
yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay. Yes, you can you're free to actually take a faculty position anywhere in the United States. So you're not limited to where, you're just limited to the fact you would need to do that. And the other thing they're really working on, because so many people are nurse practitioners now, that they're also, and there's a lot of things happening, I think, with PhDs. We're taking different things other than faculty positions. So they're looking at creating more opportunities where a graduate with the PhD might actually have a part-time faculty position and work at a hospital part-time and have kind of a joint appointment. So these things are currently developing, but yes, you can take a position at any, and it doesn't have to be a research intensive university or a teaching intense. It can be, any type of nurse faculty. So it would be within a school of nursing. But other than that, that's the only restriction.
And with the Patricia Mcgee Nursing Faculty Scholarship, which I have, it's from New York State. So that would be, my service obligation would be to any university in New York State. So there's different opportunities. So she's talking about the HRSA, and then there's also that, which is a faculty scholarship from the state, which the requirement is it's 100% coverage of tuition to a state school. And then you would have to serve back in New York State. So if you're in New York State, that's also an option, and you plan on staying in New York State, that's an option for you as well.
And I'm really optimistic that because of the whole COVID and really people understanding now what nurses do, and that we need nurse faculty or we won't have nurses, and that I'm optimistic that the funding opportunities for nurses that do want to become a nurse faculty, that those opportunities will continue to grow, and we will have more opportunities too. Sorry, I've been saying opportunities a lot, but more options for people to go to school and have financial support, because I know I couldn't have gotten my PhD without a research assistant position, and that covered my tuition. So I think there's a lot of us in that situation.
Can I just ask a question? I attended this because I have an interest in doing the PhD program, but I wanted to make sure that it's a good fit. For me, I'm currently a nurse practitioner. I did graduate from UB with my with the family nurse practitioner degree. But what my research that I would like to do is specifically in working with people with the programs of fitness and nutrition and people with chronic illnesses. That's the area of research that I would like to do. So is that a possibility to do it through the nursing, or do I have to actually do the PhD in that specific program for the fitness and nutrition school?
I personally think that nurses, my background is actually cardiac rehab. So I was an exercise scientist. My dissertation was looking at ways to keep people fit so they didn't functionally decline, because my theory is that most of us want to live at home as long as we can. And the only way we can do that is if we stay strong and able-bodied to some degree, right, to be able to move around. So that was my dissertation. What I encourage people to do is look at the faculty page, the UB faculty, and we can probably put that link in there so you can look at our page and you can see what we're interested in. So my area of interest, when you talk about chronic disease, that's pretty broad. So my area of interest is really people with neurodegenerative diseases. So it's really looking at people with like MS and Alzheimer's and then their caregivers. I know that Dr. Chang is kind of in that same area, and stress and substance abuse as well. Dr. Huner's a little bit more on the outside, looking more at, maybe you can talk about her research, Katie. I know it's cross-section.
Yeah, care transitions, continuity of care. But I think I can almost speak to that, Bridget, because nobody has the exact research focus that I do at UB, but that's been okay. I mean, there might have been better matches at other universities. However, what the faculty are doing is giving you the tools to be the best researcher that you can be. So even though I'm working on projects that aren't my main focus, I'm learning skills that I'm going to use and take into my own research. So it's really nice if it's like a perfect alignment. It's like, I'm interested in this, and this faculty member is perfectly interested in this, and this is going to fit beautifully, and I can bounce my research. It makes a really easy dissertation right off of theirs. However, if that's not the case, that's okay, because they're going to give you the tools you need to be successful in your research and help you with all those skills. So for me, that was one of my big concerns, was like, I didn't have an exact match at UB. And actually, there's only really one or two places that are not even close to here that had an exact match of what I was doing. So it really wasn't, there was no way I was going to do a program in one of those cities. So I had to find a way to make it fit for me. And it's actually been really wonderful, because not only have I brought my expertise in my area that I work to these faculty members, but then they're giving me their expertise in their research and training. So it's kind of this mutually beneficial relationship where they get to see my side of things as a nurse practitioner working in the community health setting, and what I'm really interested and excited about. And so it's been great, because I've really been given the skills working on these projects that I can use for my own research. Now, my projects probably be mostly, ground up from me, but that's okay. I've gotten the tools to be successful with that in the program. I hope that helps ease your mind a little bit.
That is helpful. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions they wanted to ask, either Dr. Lorenz or our panelists?
Hi, good evening. My name is Mimi Caesar Dumais. Hi, I'm sorry I came late. I'm running from work, but I initially wanted to pursue a DNP, but my goal is to teach at the school I graduated from nursing. That's been a goal for years. I listened to where I came in. I'm And I'm almost with Dr. Lorenz when she said, what do you want to do? For me, it's what do I want to research? Because I've been exposed to so many. Right now, I'm back in long-term care as a nurse practitioner. I'm a family nurse practitioner by training. I've done home care for 20 years as a nurse practitioner. I've done nursing homes, clinics. I've been a nurse practitioner for 23 years, and I've now decided I'm done with the field. It's time to go in and teach, because I'm seeing nurses that I'm like, why didn't you learn this before? And that's, but to where I'm listening, I haven't a clue where to start for a piece. I'm listening to the young lady who was talking, the research and so on. And does someone give you ideas to focus you in? Because I'm all over the place. Okay, 4 kids, 2 cats. I'm all over the place. Okay? But I need to focus down to do what I want to do eventually, which is to teach.
I actually real quickly I would say that my experience, and especially the first year of students, I spend a lot of time just talking with students about what's your idea, what's reasonable to do within a couple years, because the idea is you're not going to do a study where you follow people for 5 years, right? Because you want to get your PhD, get done, and take a job. And so your PhD is your foundational work. And so I would say my experience is the majority of people that come into the program kind of have a general idea, but I don't know that they know exactly this is going to be my dissertation. And oftentimes people are like Katie, and they get halfway through and then they're like, yeah, I thought I wanted to do this, but maybe I want to do this, and so it's just.
So I'm normal.
You're normal, exactly.
I would say.
Go ahead, Tanner.
I was just going to say, so I'm the assistant director for graduate recruitment. So I work with all of the new incoming students, and I always tell students they should have areas of interest that are of interest to them. You should know, oh, I like learning about that. I want to research that. But you never need to have a research idea coming into the program, because that's what that's what this program is. It's helping you learn how to research and how to formulate your opinion. So that's completely normal, and it's completely fine. It's good to have areas that you're interested in, but you don't need to have an exact research idea. I don't think that. Have we ever had a student that's come in that knows exactly what they're going to research, and then it's never changed? If
Dr. Sullivan, right? She was.
Oh, maybe Dr. Sullivan.
Okay, so one.
Her segue out of what she was going to do actually occurred after she took her first assistant. She graduated from UB and did stay at UB, and so now she's kind of like, well, maybe that's not where I want to research the rest of my life. And that also happens where so I went in looking at physical function and realized that what I really needed to know more about was sleep. So I had to pivot and learn about sleep. And so my area is still kind of the same, but it's not what I thought I was going to do when I started the program a million years ago.
And Mimi, I think in our courses, we explore so much literature. You find things that you're like, ooh, things you don't have time now to read, right? Like you're working full time. You don't have time to read all this literature and do all these things. But once you're in the PhD program, a lot of your assignments, it's like you can go and pick your topic. So you might pick something, research it, and be like, oh, no, I don't like that. So the next assignment or the next course, you're going to try look at something different. And through that process, you're like, oh, I really like this. And then maybe you latch onto that and think I'm going to make create my dissertation surrounding this type of topic or this area. Because all the courses really allow some freedom, with topic choices and your own interests in with long-term care. You can look at different options in long-term care if that's something you're interested in studying and things like that. So there's really opportunity to explore, which I know working full-time as a nurse practitioner, you have no time to explore. None.
That's the problem. Oh, goodness. And how long is the program? I didn't see that before I didn't research that before I got to the meeting.
Well, our students on average graduate in around 6 years. We've had some graduate in, I think the lowest was 4 years and something. That's very unusual. That would be a person that came in and knew exactly what they wanted to do and were funded full time, right? And just took the train and just never blinked, then they got done. But more
Part-time.
people.
Because they did it part-time too.
And part-time extend. So, we've had a lot of part-time students that actually may take 6 or 7 because sometimes life happens and they have to take a leave too. And so just so everyone knows, that is an opportunity because we do know that life happens and you have family and there is a pandemic and everything else going on. And so people have the option, if they need to take a leave of absence, they can step away from the program and then return. I do try to encourage people not to step away too long because the longer you're away, kind of like Katie was talking about, you're into the literature, right? You're reading and then you step away and you're not anymore. And it takes a while to get back into that reading, learning mode and remembering what you already learned. But it is an option. So we have had people have to do that.
And I think the path a little bit post-masters, there's some courses that, depending on what you've been a nurse practitioner for a long time, depending on when you took those courses is a little bit different than I think Leanne gets at the post-bachelor's. There's a few more courses you have to take because you, of course, didn't take those in your master's program. So the credit hours is a little bit less for the post-masters. So much more reasonable to try and get it done in that 5-year period. I'm going for 4, Dr. Lorenz. I'm going for
All right. You're going to be our first.
Well, it's not going to happen, but it's got to have goals.
And a question, you got accepted. I heard you say that you took the scholarship for New York for what is it called? You said it.
Patricia Mcgee.
Patricia Mcgee. You first had to get accepted and then apply for that, correct?
So I didn't apply for that until after. So that is only a 3 years that New York State allows for you to get that scholarship, and you have to reapply every year. So I went the first year, I was a research assistant. I was fully funded through that. And I just applied this past year when my research assistantship ended because the grant that I was on ended. And so I chose not to renew on a different research assistantship. And so it was just an option that I applied for and hoped to get, but they will fund you any point within your career, but you only get 3 years of it. And then you have to start serving back. So you have to balance the time commitment. So New York State's a little bit different. I can't speak to the HRSA grant, but that one's a little bit different. So.
Okay, thank you.
Leanne might have been a little bit different. I think you, because of your work, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think you pretty much had an area more focus coming in based on your research work as an undergraduate student.
Yeah, I think my path may be a little less common because I started doing research in undergrad and actually found that I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I know this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for it. So I actually have only been a nurse for 2 years. So I think my background looks different. So when you talk about knowing what you want to do, well, I haven't had so many experiences or different areas that I've done, but in my undergrad research, I did do research with mindfulness and I really liked it. So I decided to continue doing that, which I am able to do. But then you kind of branch off and find like your own little personal interests. So when I applied for the program, I said my interests were mental health and substance use, which is like as broad in general as you could probably be. Now I am doing mindfulness and also doing a lot of researching virtual reality. So I would have never thought that I would be doing anything with virtual reality. And here we are in app development. So you kind of, like Katie said, you kind of just fall into these little interests and areas and you go down this path and see, no, I don't want that. Or you go this path and it's like, yes. I want to keep doing that. But yeah, the bachelor's coursework, I think for me, it looks like as a full-time student, 3 years, 6 full-time semesters about of the coursework, and then starting your dissertation. So.
Yeah, in postmasters, I'm about 2.5 years coursework. So, you know, 1 year less, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 semesters of coursework. So 1 less semester full time to get to the point of dissertation work. So it's a little bit different. Not, I mean, only 1 semester shy, I guess, but that's taking about 3 courses per semester versus, I don't know if Leanne's taking 3 or 4.
Yeah, doing the, I guess not the PhD courseworks, but in the beginning I was able to do 4. Now that I'm into mostly the PhD curriculum, I am keeping myself at 3. But I think most people are actually part-time. I don't know how that looks, but I think full-time is not as frequent as the part-time option.
Is 3 courses a semester considered part-time for graduate, for a PhD program?
People with a research assistantship, they can take 9 credits, and that's considered full-time, which would be 3 courses. People that are part-time take, 2 courses a semester. And you can move back and forth between part-time and full-time too. So people also do that. We had the group that started this year, we had, I think it was 7, am I right, Tanner? 7 new students start in the fall of 2021. And some of them actually thought they were going to go full-time. And then once they realized that getting a PhD is not like getting a master's degree or undergrad, that they decided to go part-time. So actually learned that pretty quickly and withdrew from a class. And they'll see once they get their footing, if they want to go back full-time. And I'm hearing different things from each one of them. I'm going to go full-time in the future, or I'm not.
And I think that's not to scare you. The biggest difference, I think, is the level and amount of reading, where it's just time consuming. So it's not necessarily difficult, but it just takes a lot of time and a lot of thought process. And so even coming from a master's degree program, especially like in your nurse practitioner program, we had a lot of courses that were, you take 4 tests and you have 1 paper and that's it for the, and then you pass the class. I mean, there's reading in the book and the text, but here it's multiple large papers, lots and lots and lots of reading in the literature. And you would just have to make time and space for that in your life, which is, if you haven't been doing it for many years, it's a transition. So to be like, oh, right, I have to read like 8 papers, other people's papers this week, 8 articles this week, in addition to a textbook, and I have to write a discussion board and all these other things. So I think that's the biggest challenge in transitioning, is just the time, the amount of time you have to put into each course to really be successful and to get everything you need to get out of that course.
So,
did you cover the research?
No, go ahead.
Did you cover the research assistant position? Because I've heard it a couple of times. I'm sorry.
So we do have research assistantships that we provide to incoming students. Every year we're able to award a presidential scholarship, and that pays full-time tuition. Actually, I should probably let Tanner talk to this because sometimes I get this wrong. You want to do that?
So basically, research assistantship or any assistantships, because we have a few different types at the university, are awarded on a case-by-case basis, because there's a lot of things that determine, one, how many we have. We do have a few set aside for certain scholarship recipients. That happens for those types of scholarship, that happens after an admissions decision is made. But other assistantships will come up as grants are approved, or if we have space available. So they're not guaranteed for our incoming PhD students, but as they're available, we reach out to students. The office that I work in, Office of Student Services, we disseminate that to students in the period between you getting accepted and starting program.
Or even sometimes during the program.
Or during the program, yeah, that happens as well. Yeah, I always tell students at the graduate level, when it comes to scholarships and fellowships and all that big term, when you come in as at an undergrad level, you come in at your first year and you have a smorgasbord of different options. You get what you get, and that's what you have for all 4 years. At the graduate level, it's much more of a continuous process, and things happen and different scholarships become available when someone graduates and there's an assistantship that opens up, or you only get 3 years of funding and you have to choose when to use it. So it's a much more continuous process. It's not something that, oh, I start with this and I'm going to end with this. Rarely does that happen. It's much more of a kind of ebbs and flow, and it's something you have to be more aware of at the graduate level as far as outside scholarships and funding.
So what I tell incoming students is that if you're really interested in a research assistantship or other type of assistantships, make sure we know, because we'll be the first to know when, say, a faculty member gets an award and has opportunity to hire. So it's just making your wishes known so that we can keep you kind of on our list in front of our minds.
And that's how mine worked with, I think Dr. Lorenz, actually, I was accepted in the spring of right before COVID, and then COVID. And then I did not have any, but they didn't have any open assistantships. And so she said, well, I'll keep you on my radar. And I think over the summer prior to me starting, she emailed me like 3 or 4 different people who are looking for a research assistantship. And I got to speak with all those faculty members, and I got to find one that was going to fit really nicely with what I wanted and was going to fit. Knowing that it was only actually a 1 year. So they already knew that the grant was going to be ending. And so I knew after 1 year, I was going to either have to look for other opportunities or other ways of funding after that position ended. So, but that was something that I let them know that, yes, I'm interested in this. I want to be involved in this. And so she just was like, boom, I have an opening. Boom, here's these opportunities. And then the faculty member then interviews the people who are interested to see who's going to be a good fit for that role with them.
And then I think there was another question. Vida, am I saying your name correctly? You asked if there's any on-site requirements for the program. And that everything seems to be hard for me to answer. But pre-COVID, what we told everybody is when you did your proposal defense, when you did your dissertation defense, and then we have immersion, what we call immersion, every fall, where we try to get all the students together for a couple of days to meet each other. And it's an opportunity when you're on campus to talk with each other and talk with the faculty and really get to know UB a little bit more. And that always occurs like the week before classes start. And so in the past, those were the 3 times we would say we required students to come to campus. Of course, that's totally changed in the last couple of years, and our immersion and orientation have been online for 2 years. We're hoping in the fall that we can all be together again. I mean, I can serve you food, we can all get together, have a picnic. If we're all together, if we're on Zoom, it's not nearly as personal like that, right? But it served the purpose. We're lucky we have Zoom over the last couple of years, because I don't know what we would have done without it. So I guess the best answer for coursework and stuff, it's all distance accessible. So we have some courses that occur online asynchronous. So it's through Blackboard and discussion posts and things like that. Once you're pretty much into the PhD program, the core PhD courses we provide in what we call high flex, which is just what we're doing right now. So you can do it from the comfort of your own home, wherever you happen to be traveling. It's just the course would occur like on a Monday or a Tuesday. We try to restrict it to Mondays or Tuesdays to help with people that do have jobs. And you would be expected to log into Zoom if you weren't actually here. So it's like coming to your classroom, for those courses. So did that answer your question?
Did anyone else have any?
Oh, go ahead. No, you're good. I want to say it's
Oh,
like
yes.
probably 80% live synchronous courses is really, so that's showing up to class on Zoom just like this for me as a distance student. But my plan is to do defense and attend when we have live in person, all that stuff in person in Buffalo. And I've also offered people other places in New York State, they can come stay with me in Rochester, and like we can drive to Buffalo together. They can come stay at my house, and we can go there, take this morning trip and the morning trip back for immersion and other things. But yes, so the coursework is all, so for me, I've been able to I've gone to Buffalo a couple of times and met with my research team, which is wonderful. It's so nice to see people in real life person and have that physical, but it's been, the synchronous coursework. So for someone working, right, that's a challenge always, is to get that schedule when you get your coursework and figuring out when the live classes are, because you do sit and attend class, sometimes 6 hours in a row. So it's happened, but that's okay.
I
And
try
then
not
there's
to do that.
but that's okay.
Wonderful. Did anyone else have any questions? If not, I'm just going to hand it back over to Tanner, see if you wanted to provide any other updates.
So just, I briefly spoke, like I said, I'm the assistant director for graduate admission or graduate recruitment. So basically I'm the gatekeeper when you want to join our program. I work closely with Dr. Lorenz in our admissions committee. If you are looking to apply this program, I don't think we brought it up, but the program only starts in the fall semester. So that's our start term. So applications are currently open for the fall 2022, and they close in April. It takes some time to get a PhD application together, so make sure you give yourself plenty of time. I'm not going to go into like super admission specific stuff. I do a presentation at least twice a month on different admissions practices, or if you want to get specifics about what we require, please feel free to reach out with me. My contact information and picture are all over the website. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any specific stuff that way. But that's really all I wanted to say about the application for the PhD program.
Great, thank you so much, Tanner. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. I think this was a really great conversation and we touched on a lot of important points, and I really hope that this was useful for everyone. So just a reminder, we're going to be sharing this recording tomorrow, so if you want to keep an eye out for it. But other than that, we had no other content for you tonight. If you have any questions after the fact, you can feel free just to respond to the email going out tomorrow, and we'll make sure to put you in touch with the proper person. But I hope you all have a wonderful night and a happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Bye,
so
everyone.
nice meeting you.
Bye.